Have you ever stopped to think that maybe is evil helping you? If you've ever experienced something strange, such as unexpected help in a dark moment, type the number 11 in the comments. This number represents spiritual awakening in the midst of darkness. I want to see how many chosen have felt this. Calm down, I'm not telling you to make a pact with the wrong thing. But what if I told you that many of the moments when you got saved or had a genius idea weren't exactly sent by the light you imagine? Yes, that's exactly it, demons help the chosen ones. And no, it's not because they got good. This truth, which few have the courage to speak, is the key to understanding a lot of things that happen in your spiritual life. Have you ever felt that you were protected even without deserving it? Have you ever noticed that certain doors opened when you were at rock bottom? That's that, it has invisible forces at work. But not all help comes from the light. And when the chosen one does not understand this, he can end up paying dearly, very expensive. In this video, you'll find out why demons prefer to manipulate rather than attack. You will understand how occult spiritual help works, why your intuition sometimes deceives you, and how to identify the demons disguised as light that are around you. Get ready, because it can change the way you see your journey. What's more, it can be the difference between being guided or being manipulated. There are people who go through life thinking that the stumbles are random, but the chosen one. This one notices the signs. Those accidents avoided for a second, the coincidences that look more like an invisible hand guiding the way, all this reveals a protection that cannot be explained with ordinary logic. Sometimes, the car brakes for no reason and avoids the worst. Sometimes, a friend calls just in time when you think about giving up. Coincidence? Or silent demonic presence trying to interfere, being blocked by something greater? And it has that weird feeling, you know. That of not being alone, even in the midst of inner darkness. It's not just a pretty thought, it's real. Many of the chosen ones report that, in the densest moments, they feel a force that lifts them up. This hidden spiritual help acts subtly but firmly. When the unseen forces move in your favor, even sadness begins to feel like a workout. And no, this strength does not always come from the light we think we know. The intuition of the chosen one is not a guess, it is almost a radar. It is as if the soul flashes a warning, be careful with that advice, there is spiritual manipulation behind it. You know that gut feeling that prevents you from going into certain places or trusting certain people? Don't ignore it. Often, this is the echo of false spirit guides trying to disguise themselves as allies. Intuition, when well calibrated, saves. But when misleading, it can open doors to shadowy entities. And then comes the weight of doubt, am I going crazy? But it is at this moment that the true chosen one begins to see. You begin to realize that your dreams are warnings, that certain conversations wake you up, and that little hidden signs repeat themselves, as if the whole universe conspires to wake you up. Even demons disguised as light can appear as spiritual masters, offering help that comes at a heavy price later. One of the biggest signs is in the moments when everything seems to want to stop you, but something bigger pushes you. You can't explain why you keep trying, why you insist on getting up even with a bruised soul. This strength does not come only from faith, it comes from mission. The shadow beings perceive this call and try to prevent it with trials, sabotage, and even disguised possession. But the true chosen one knows that the greater the spiritual warfare, the greater the purpose. Ultimately, the chosen one is the one who begins to notice the chaos around him, not as a victim, but as a participant in something much bigger. He feels, even without understanding it, that his journey is connected to something invisible and sacred. And at this point, the most subtle contacts with demonic influences begin, not for immediate destruction, but for strategic manipulation. Because yes, the demons help. But not for the reason you think. This idea seems absurd at first glance, right? But the truth is, demons aren't dumb, they're strategists. When they perceive a chosen one, they do not try to destroy him right away. They prefer to get closer. Sometimes with compliments, sometimes with solutions that arise exactly when the person is fragile. This is the so-called help that comes at a price. They know that offering a quick way out of pain can be more effective than a direct attack. They recognize the light. The brightness of the chosen one bothers like a beacon in the dark. Then, instead of clashing with this divine protection, the dark entities approach smiling. It is a disguised, veiled possession, which infiltrates by vanity, haste, neediness. Sometimes the saving angel, who appeared out of nowhere, is actually a demon masquerading as light. And the person accepts it, because it seems too good to be a lie. The subtlest of all this is spiritual praise. Demons love to inflate the ego of the chosen one, saying that he is special, superior, unbeatable. Not because they believe it, but because they know that pride is a gaping door to spiritual manipulation. Demonic influence does not always come with violence. It comes with promises. With sweet words. With opportunities that seem too perfect. After all, who can resist a shortcut when they're tired? And that's where the dirty game comes in. The demons observe, test, wait for the right moment. They know that the true power of the chosen one can stir up multitudes. So why not control this power instead of eliminating it? A chosen one controlled by the unseen forces becomes a ranged weapon. He thinks he is guiding, but he is actually being guided. Many public figures, for example, start with a beautiful mission. And suddenly, something changes in the look, in the words, in the purpose. That is why all care is not enough. When something helps you too much, too fast, too intensely. Question. It may be an unconscious pact being made there. It could be a silent demonic presence wanting to plant roots. Even in dark spirituality there is a strategy: involve, comfort, and then charge. The chosen one needs to learn to differentiate the divine touch from the treacherous touch. And yes, you can learn, but it takes training, vigilance, and humility. Curious how those who are helped the most mysteriously, they are also the most attacked later. It's as if the same force that lifted you up, now wants to charge you. But all is not lost, because there is something that demons cannot cross, the true spiritual power that protects the chosen. The chosen one, without even knowing it, carries a type of invisible armor. It is not fantasy, nor blind belief, it is real. There is a spiritual shield that surrounds him, which repels demonic influence even when he has not yet learned to fully defend himself. This inner light is so intense that it causes discomfort in the shadow beings. It's like walking into a dark room and someone shining a flashlight straight in the eye. They retreat. This light, by the way, does not come from esoteric studies or colored candles. It comes from something much deeper, a direct connection to Source, to that which is pure, true, non-negotiable. That is why, even when the chosen one engages with dark spirituality or deceptive intuition, there is something inside him that screams. Like a spiritual alarm that prevents total immersion into the abyss. He may fall, but he is not lost. Because there is divine protection there. This protection is selective. It does not prevent the chosen one from suffering, but it does prevent him from being destroyed. It's a fine but powerful line. While others get completely lost in unconscious pacts, the chosen one experiences trials of the chosen ones, yes, but with a difference: he always returns stronger. Every attempt by the dark entities to overthrow it turns into learning, into strength, into clarity. His light is annoying, so the attack is constant. And look how curious, this protection works even when he doubts it. Have you noticed that there are people who go through extreme situations, without explanation, and go out standing? It's not luck. It is a spiritual design. The chosen one is a fortress, and the more aware he becomes of it, the more that light expands. The silent demonic presence tries to infiltrate, but finds no space. Because there is resistance, there is prayer, there is vigilance. Now, an important detail: this shield is not static. It needs to be fed. And not with empty rituals, but with attitudes. Reading sacred texts, such as Psalms or Proverbs. Simple practices such as daily gratitude, intentional fasting, or spiritual silence strengthen this field. A self-knowledge journal, for example, can be more powerful than a mystical stone. Because what feeds that light is truth, not performance. Therefore, the more the chosen one understands his role, the more his light overshadows the darkness. And, ironically, it is this light that attracts the attacks. Demons don't waste time on those who have already surrendered, they bother with those who still resist. But resisting with intelligence requires more than faith, it requires discernment. Discernment is that invisible sense that whispers, "There's something wrong here." It is a rare gift, but one that is present in every true chosen one. In a world full of fake smiles and camouflaged intentions, realizing what's behind the masks is a kind of superpower. The chosen one feels the energy of the person even before he speaks. He reads the unsaid. Sometimes, everything feels right, but the heart tightens. And it's not drama, it's a spiritual warning against spiritual manipulation. This gift helps to avoid false spirit guides, who pose as masters but are demons disguised as light. Many come with sweet lines, lofty advice, and even revelations. But when the chosen one is awake, he notices the rehearsed tone, the absence of humility and the trail of confusion that these guides leave wherever they go. Discernment here acts as a filter, it separates the sacred from the dangerous, the truth from the demonic influence. Discernment is also emotional. It helps to identify when a compliment is bait, or when guilt is being used as a control tool. This goes for relationships, spirituality, and even life choices. A practical example: when someone says that they want your well, but their words cause unrest or fear, trust and discomfort. The dark path of the soul usually begins with emotional agreements disguised as love. There is also energetic discernment, which is almost physical. The body shivers, the stomach freezes, sleep disappears. These reactions are not head stuff, they are hidden signals from the body reacting to shadowy entities nearby. The chosen one feels environments. You notice when a house feels loaded or when a conversation sucks your energy. This kind of perception is refined with time and silence. Sometimes, turning off external noise is all the spirit needs to hear what is true. And the hardest part, discernment also reveals truths about oneself. It shows that, sometimes, we are the manipulators, the deceived, the naive. That's where light hurts, but it also heals. The chosen one does not fear the truth. He stares at her, even when it hurts. Because he knows that every mistake he overcomes strengthens the soul. And that deceptive intuition, when exposed, loses its power. After all, discernment is what differentiates the protected from the vulnerable. And the sharper this spiritual vision, the easier it is to identify the pitfalls, especially those that come disguised as help. And the next pitfalls are much more subtle than they seem. Demonic help never comes by saying, "Hi, I came to destroy you." On the contrary, it appears as a solution, as an answer to your prayers. But there's a detail: she charges. And the price is never informed at the beginning. It can come in the form of a new relationship that seems perfect, a divine work proposal, or even a spiritual mentor who shows up at just the right moment. It seems like a blessing, but it carries the seed of an unconscious, silent pact that grows slowly. These aids come packed with emotion. It's all very intense, very fast. And that's where the danger lies. The chosen one, in moments of vulnerability, can confuse a silent demonic presence with a guardian angel. And when he realizes, he is already involved in gossip, conflicts, constant energy losses and a tiredness that has no explanation. These dark entities love emotional chaos. The more drama, the more access they have. The approximation is almost always subtle. It can come through someone who just wants to help, but is always in the middle of confusion. Or by a spiritual therapy that soothes on the outside and imprisons on the inside. Even certain content on social networks, yes, videos, songs, motivational phrases, can carry camouflaged spiritual manipulation. The danger is not in the content itself, but in the energy it activates within the person. Deceptive intuition is the first step. Another common trap is the false sense of evolution. When everything suddenly starts to work out, the ego inflates, the judgment drops, and the chosen one begins to think he is untouchable. This is a pure strategy of the invisible forces, to feed pride to open breaches. A practical example. Someone starts to gain followers, fame, money, and believes that they are blessed. But your inner life is sinking into inner darkness, crises, and disconnection. There is also the famous help that distances from everything that is real. People who arrive and suddenly isolate you from family, friends, commitments. They say they are protecting you, but in fact they are preparing you for manipulation. Shadow beings love this tactic, cutting their roots, and then shaping their reality. The problem is that the chosen one often realizes this, too late. So if something seems too good to be true, question it. Analyze. Observe if there is real peace or just temporary relief. Because behind many favors, there may be demons disguised as light waiting for the right moment to collect the bill. And when the charge comes, then the real trials of the chosen ones begin. It is one of the greatest spiritual dilemmas. If I am chosen, why do I go through so many difficult things? But the truth is that spiritual warfare spares no one, least of all those who carry light. God does not send trials out of cruelty, but out of strategy. Just as fire shapes gold, so difficulties shape the character of the chosen one. Without them, he would never discover the strength he has or the invisible forces that really surround him. These trials do not come only from outside. Often, the biggest battlefield is within the mind itself. The darkness within, when left unaddressed, becomes a shortcut to demonic influence. Therefore, God allows the chosen one to face losses, frustrations, betrayals. It is at these times that the spirit reveals itself, or surrenders. But there's a catch. Even when he seems to be alone, the chosen one is never abandoned. The hidden spiritual help is still there, firm. There is also the repetition test. Have you ever noticed how certain patterns are repeated? Always the same type of person who appears, the same situations. This is no coincidence, it's training. Each cycle that repeats itself is a chance to act differently, to raise the spiritual level. The dark entities will try to pull you into automatic. But the real chosen one begins to notice the hidden signs and decides to break the pattern. This is the beginning of spiritual freedom. Another trial is divine silence. Those periods when everything freezes, the answers disappear and the soul screams in the void. It is there that many give up. But it is also there that discernment is refined. It is in the wilderness that faith is tested. And while the demons whisper doubts and accuse with sweet voices, the chosen one learns to listen to the whisper of truth. The dark path of the soul is not punishment, it is school. These trials also reveal who is around. Friends who disappear, partners who show themselves. They are natural filters. And when everything seems to be falling apart, the opportunity arises for direct connection with the purpose. The chosen one begins to understand that he is not only living, but being prepared. Spiritual warfare is not a punishment, it is a calling. And what comes next, only the strong can bear. Because after so much trial, those who resist begin to see what others do not see. And it is at this point that the chosen one realizes that even demons have layers, hidden intentions that go beyond pure and simple destruction. Not every demon wants to see the world burn. At least, not in the way we imagine. Some have more complex, and, amazingly, even contradictory, objectives. There are dark entities that are not only there to destroy the chosen one, but to test him, observe his strength, or even seek something they have lost, redemption itself. Sounds crazy, right? But when you enter this level of dark spirituality, you realize that even in hell there are hierarchies and internal dilemmas. Have you ever heard of demons trying to escape worse punishments? Yes, there are those who help not out of kindness, but out of fear. They make silent agreements with the chosen ones, hoping that by helping them evolve, they may be able to escape a darker fate. It's as if they play both sides, they hinder and push at the same time. And this is where the need for keen discernment comes in, to realize that even help can be loaded with spiritual manipulation. Some act as if they were crooked teachers. They know that the chosen one only activates certain gifts when they are pressured, and so they force situations. They create battles, stimulate trials, but not with the ultimate goal of destroying, but of provoking an awakening. Of course, not everyone acts like this. But it is a mistake to think that all shadow beings operate in the same pattern. The invisible world is complex. And that is why the chosen one needs to study, read, seek to understand the dynamics of the spirit. This understanding requires spiritual maturity. When the chosen one realizes that even the enemies teach, he begins to react differently. Instead of despairing in the face of demonic influence, he wonders, what is this trying to show me? It does not mean submitting to evil, but extracting learning. Some of the greatest spiritual leaps are born after encounters with demons disguised as light, because they reveal what was hidden even from ourselves. And there are cases, yes, of entities that want to free themselves, who try to connect with the chosen one looking for a bridge to return to the light. But beware, the chosen one is not here to save demons. He is here to light paths. Opening up too much can be dangerous, because the intention behind the approach is not always clear. And in this field, any emotional gap can mean an unconscious pact. The awareness of all this transforms the way the chosen one walks in the world. And from that point on, he begins to see his mission more clearly. Because it's not just about surviving the invisible war, it's about becoming a beacon for those who are still lost in the darkness. The chosen one is not here by chance. It is, in essence, a beacon. And the world, in its daily confusion, desperately needs true light, not scenographic light. While many remain blinded by demonic influence camouflaged as freedom, the chosen one walks with purpose, even without understanding everything. Its mere presence already generates impact. He bothers without speaking, inspires without showing off. Because where there is truth, there is no need for noise. The mission of the chosen one is more than helping others. It is to be an example, it is to be congruent. When he lives his truth, he shows that it is possible to exist outside the bubble of spiritual manipulation. He doesn't preach, he lives. Don't force it, he shows. And this irritates the dark entities, who prefer everyone to be asleep. After all, one awakened wakes another, and another, until the invisible forces begin to lose ground. Funny that, sometimes, the chosen one doesn't even think he's a big deal. He feels out of place, strange, different. And that's precisely where the key lies. This feeling of not belonging is a sign that he carries a mission that goes beyond the visible. Many who are now references of light have already gone through intense periods of inner darkness, and it was exactly there that they discovered their strength. So don't despise yourself. You weren't called to fit in. He was called to transform. Mission does not require perfection, but delivery. And it can be lived in small actions, forgiving someone, speaking a truth with love, denying an invitation that violates your principles, protecting those who are vulnerable. These gestures build a firm, enlightened path. And the more the chosen one fulfills his mission, the more he becomes immune to the manipulation of the entities that prowl. It becomes a walking force field, and that changes everything around it. Of course, the path is not easy. Being light in the midst of darkness requires courage. The attacks come, the judgments too. But the mission does not depend on the approval of others. It depends on the connection with what is true. Dark spirituality can try to distort, mock, deceive. But those who live aligned with the mission feel a type of protection that cannot be explained. The silent demonic presence even tries to enter, but finds no home. And it is by living this mission with consciousness that the chosen one develops something even more powerful, a kind of spiritual immunity. Something that makes him resistant to what shakes others. A type of internal armor that only those who pass through the fire understand. The chosen one, contrary to what many people think, is not someone free of problems, but is someone armored from within. There is a real, concrete spiritual immunity that activates as he recognizes his mission and connects with his essence. This protection does not prevent him from feeling pain, but it does prevent him from being overwhelmed by it. Demonic influence may touch your life, but it does not take up residence. It is like rain on a stone, it wets, but it does not penetrate. In times of crisis, this immunity reveals itself in an impressive way. While others collapse, the chosen one grows stronger. It's not because he's insensitive, but because he knows that chaos is pedagogical. He learned to deal with the darkness within without getting lost in it. And even when he's shaken, there's a force that keeps him from giving up. This force is like an internal password, it activates a silent shield against the most subtle attacks. Negative emotions appear, of course. The chosen one feels anger, sadness, frustration. But these emotions do not dominate your mind or command your decisions. He is not a hostage to them. This is one of the greatest victories in spiritual warfare, maintaining control even when the external environment screams despair. The dark entities try to provoke impulsive reactions, but the chosen one responds with awareness. And that disarms them. This immunity also drives away false allies. People who approach with hidden intentions can't stay for long. It's as if something in them said, "You can't sow chaos here." The silent demonic presence tries, observes, but feels the resistance. Because the light of the chosen one is like an alarm turned on, any attempt at infiltration is exposed sooner or later. It is not invulnerability, it is spiritual consistency. And the most interesting thing? This immunity grows the more he gives himself to the mission. It's not about ritual, it's about posture. Read books that expand consciousness, such as The Shack, The Prophet, or even the Gospels. Practice intentional silence, opinion fasting, and mindfulness in everyday life. These actions strengthen this invisible armor, and make the invisible forces retreat without him having to raise his voice. With each conscious step, the chosen one strengthens this armor. And when you realize this, you understand that you are not just living a spiritual life, is fighting an invisible war. A war that happens inside and outside. And that is about to reveal itself in its fullness. There is a war going on right now, and it is not in the streets, nor in the skies. It's within you. Every choice, every thought, every emotion is a battlefield between light and dark. The chosen one does not live an ordinary life, because he is inserted in a divine plan, invisible to the eye, but real like the pain he feels and the strength he carries. The spiritual battle is silent, but its effects echo in everything around. Often, the field looks calm. No direct attack, no crisis. But that's where the danger lies. The invisible forces are not always noisy, they act stealthily, testing boundaries, trying to corrupt little by little. The unconscious pact is established more by daily concessions than by major decisions. Demonic influence enters through the gap of distraction. And the chosen one must be awake. Always. The great challenge is to understand that this battle does not only happen in the spiritual world, but also in relationships, words, and unresolved emotions. Spiritual manipulation does not always have a mystical appearance. Sometimes it uses a look, a phrase, a well-meaning advice. Therefore, the vigilance of the chosen one is a constant practice, not an occasional state. He needs to be strengthened, not only with prayers, but with coherent attitudes. Every step taken in the light strengthens your spiritual immunity. Every time he says no to something that goes against his purpose, he wins a micro-battle. Each time he chooses truth over comfort, he strengthens his armor. It's not easy, but it's simple. The journey of the chosen one is arduous but glorious. Because he does not walk alone. Even when you feel the silent demonic presence trying to destabilize. There is an invisible army all around you. This war, deep down, is for your soul. For your energy. By its influence. And the more you understand this, the more you become an active agent of this battle. Neutrality does not exist here. Either you fight, or you serve as terrain. The good news is that the chosen one, when conscious, becomes impossible to corrupt. He becomes an ambassador of light in full darkness. And the final victory. That's guaranteed, as long as he doesn't forget who he is. Because knowing who you are, it is what prepares you to understand the real reason why even the demons, in silence, have helped you. Now tell me, after everything you've heard, will you continue to ignore the signs? Will you continue to believe that all help comes from above, without questioning the intention behind it? Look, what you've learned here is no ordinary content. It is knowledge that changes vision, changes posture, changes destiny. But it's no use knowing if you don't apply. Get started today. Observe who is approaching, rethink your spiritual choices, analyze the coincidences that have been happening. Haven't you already fallen into some of these traps? And more importantly, haven't you already been helped by these forces, and haven't even realized it yet? The spiritual life is a war, and ignoring this is the same as fighting blindfolded. So if you want to continue to receive this kind of deep revelation, if you feel like you're a chosen one and you want to truly protect yourself, subscribe to the channel now. Turn on notifications, because upcoming content will show you how to recognize even the most well-disguised demons, and how to strengthen your light to the point where they run away from you. Because here, the truth sets you free. And the light, guide the strong.